Hello and welcome to IMEO's MENA Mix Regional Recap. I am Doris Awwad, a Jerusalemite specialized in gender and global politics. I have worked for almost 2 decades on Palestine, Syria, and Lebanon, focusing on peace building, political transitions, and women, peace, and security. I'm very pleased to be joined today by my co-host Alia Mansour. Alia is the Deputy Editor-in-Chief of Now Lebanon and the reporter for Al Majalla, where she writes all the time on Lebanese, Syrian, and regional political affairs. So, hello, Alia.
Hello, Doris. It's nice to be with you.
Same here. I'm really happy that finally we're having some of or bringing some of our offline conversation into IMEO's online space, and I hope the audience will enjoy our conversation dynamics that we usually have.
I'm
So
happy, but I was scared when you said 2 decades. I'm trying to forget that we're getting old and we've been working on the same region for 2 decades. You're right.
yeah, on the
Yeah.
same region, and hopefully to see
For the
something
same
new.
problems for the 20 last years. Well,
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree with you. So, as we close the month of May 2026, we are here to walk you through the major developments that happened during the month. And honestly, for me, this month was quite interesting because diplomacy and instability seemed to move in parallel. On one hand, much of international and regional attention was focused on Strait of Hormuz, US-Iran negotiations, with a new mediator on the table, the changing in oil prices, energy security, and whether the region we were asking whether the region was moving towards a more serious ceasefire or a de-escalation process. But at the same time, several fronts did not pause. And we can see that clearly in Gaza front and Lebanon front, what's happening in the West Bank from all the violations. And again, we ask about Syria. How does Syria is positioning itself amid the regional war? So, Alia, to start our conversation, I would love to step back and just answer a big question that we always discuss. Um, do you think the region is moving toward a real de-escalation process, or just the conflicts are changing shape?
hello, Doris. Hello again. Thank you for having me. No, I think we are moving to a de-escalation at the end of it, but to reach de-escalation, we have to, and unfortunately, to be realistic, we have to have a big wars. We've been for decades trying to find a solution to the militias that are controlling our countries, our states in a nice way, and we failed. Now, people think that, for example, Hezbollah or even Hamas, the situation in Syria have changed in the last year and a half. But having militia controlling your state will not lead to a peaceful or to a statico for a long time. So every time, for example, in Lebanon or even in Palestine, you have a period of the escalation, but it always end up with a war or a conflict, armed conflict. So I think this time we will have a war. Maybe it will be a bigger war, bigger than what we are facing now. But at the end, I see that what happened in October 7, it changed the whole region. And we cannot go back to October 6. Nobody will accept it, not just Israel, because the Palestinians paid the highest price, the Lebanese paid the highest price because of the militias who did not take into consideration the idea of the people, the human beings, the human Palestinians, or even the civilians in Israel. The same here in Lebanon, when Hezbollah decided first time to launch a war against Israel. and he said we are supporting Gaza, but we all know that they did not support Gaza because they are not able. They did not even protect one single kid in Gaza, but they caused a destruction and death of thousands of Lebanese, including civilians in Lebanon. And again, it happened lately after the assassination of Khamenei. Again, they launched a war against Iran, against Israel for the sake of Iran. And again, the Lebanese people are paying very high price. So I think no one will accept that we will go back to the same solutions we've been for the last 26 years doing just to cover our issues and just walk away from the core problem and have a de-escalation. We need a peace, even if it's not a full peace process. At least we need guarantees that not
But
after 2 months no one will launch
yeah,
a war again.
yeah, it's interesting what you're saying, Alia. And if we want to tap into October 7th, it might be a bit controversial now, but we will tap into Gaza on a later stage, of course. Now, because you have mentioned Hezbollah several times in your initial analysis, and the front of Hezbollah, or this open front of Lebanon, it witnessed like intensified attacks recently. I wonder if this front is only targeting Hezbollah, or it's also targeting Lebanon. And I know this is a debate that we have been through several times. I would like to hear your opinion. Is it a really war on only Hezbollah, targeting Hezbollah, or is it targeting Lebanon, taking into consideration the fragile state, the economic collapse, and all of these dimensions? So
It's
what do you
targeting
think?
Lebanon because of Hezbollah. Uh, يعني we have to remember إنه 26 years ago Lebanon was liberated from Israel. So it was on 25th of May 2000.
Who liberated
Israel,
it from Israel?
no, it's not only Hezbollah. We had a secular and nationalist resistance that Hezbollah and Assad regime at that time get rid of it for the sake of Hezbollah's bigger project in the region, and the Iranians' project. It's a different story. But in 2000, Lebanon was liberated. So after 2000, there's no excuse for Hezbollah to be armed. Thus, they kept creating causes to say that we are keeping our arms to defend against, sometimes against terrorists. They never believed in the state, in the Lebanese army. They always looked at it as a weak, fragile state and weak army. Yani, I cannot ask the Israelis to look at the Lebanese state as a strong, independent state when Hezbollah is looking at the Lebanese state as a total failure. So from 2000 till 2006, we have been postponing the solution. That's why we had many wars from that time till today. Today, I don't think we can go back to the same solutions we had in 2000, 2005, 2006, 2008, 2024, 2026. We can, in 2026 will be totally different. Without Hezbollah, I don't think يعني Israel will be able to, not able, they are always able, but they will have no problem with Lebanon to fight.
You mean they will not have, between brackets, legitimate reason to attack Lebanon?
Yes, and every time,
But
since 2000, every time Hezbollah was the one who started the war, not Israel. I'm not defending Israel because, in this region, every time you take, you just say the truth, people get angry and frustrated. In
I hear you.
2006,
Yeah, I hear
in
you,
two,
Alia. And I totally understand your point of view. But to be honest with you, like despite the renewed ceasefire that happened with Lebanon, basically, still my perspective on that this war this time it's not only affecting or for the purpose to disarm Hezbollah, and I'll challenge what you were saying in a minute. If we see that all of these attacks and the announcements by the Israelis demanding to flatten the villages in south of Lebanon. That means it's not only attacking Hezbollah. For me, I see it's a direct attack on Lebanon sovereignty, destroy the Lebanese civilian infrastructure, like and you know that hospitals, schools, facilities, and mosques, even churches, and so on. It further entrenched the internal strife in Lebanon. And you mentioned that it will not lead to civil war, but still, I see it might put the seeds for another civil war, which concerns me the most, of course, regarding Lebanon, and completely infringe on Lebanon's sovereignty. So we have now over 1 million people who were displaced with uncertainty when or where they will return, who will be responsible for all the reparations, for the reconstruction, where will they go? So at the end, in my view, it's the responsibility of the Lebanese government. And yet we say, or some of the analysts say, it's only targeting Hezbollah. So here's what makes me always think about, is it really affecting only Hezbollah? Will it lead to disarming Hezbollah, or it is weakening the state of Lebanon even more?
No, of course, it is targeting, it's affecting the Lebanese people and the Lebanese state, but it is targeting Hezbollah and the areas controlled by Hezbollah. We could not, يعني, I don't look like I'm defending Israel, but Israel is not targeting areas where Hezbollah does not exist. But of course, the price is paid by all the Lebanese community and by the Lebanese government. Who will reconstruct and rebuild the South? And this question, Hezbollah should have asked himself this question before launching a war, because Hezbollah did not create a problem or a war just with Israel. Lebanon now is almost isolated from his surrounding countries because of Hezbollah. Hezbollah went to Syria to fight. Hezbollah went to Saudi Arabia, to Yemen, to Bahrain, to Kuwait, to Egypt, to Emirates, to create security problems for them. So usually the Arab countries, the Gulf countries used to rebuild Lebanon after every war. Now Hezbollah decided to go to war after ruining the relation between Lebanon and all the Arab countries, and still now we are blaming. Okay, it is the duty of the state, the government, the Lebanese government, to take care of all of these issues. But we cannot forget that Hezbollah has been creating all these problems to Lebanon for years and years. And what we are facing today is not only the result of Hezbollah's Israeli war of 2004 or 2006. It is the result of Hezbollah controlling the state for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear your point, Alia. But now we have also this controversial, let me say, or ill-defined negotiation process, direct negotiation process between Lebanon and Israel, and also the concept of disarming Hezbollah. All the time we hear it over the news that the only solution or the main solution will be is the disarmament of Hezbollah. What concerns me here, it's not the concept of disarming Hezbollah, but I always keep asking myself, who should do this task? Because always we hear announcement by Israel, if the Lebanese military didn't take a full responsibility on that, we will keep intervening till we achieve that task. And I personally don't believe that any external intervention into another country would lead to a sustainable peace into Lebanon, for example. We're talking about Lebanon. So maybe there would be other solution where there can be a national-led process into Lebanon. I'm aware of, and you remember there were several attempts previously to have all political actors on the same table to create and to develop one national defense strategy,
strategy.
but it led to nowhere. Now I see that there might be a renewed opportunity for that, like to have all of these political actors on the table with a regional mediator, maybe, and to resume these negotiations. I see it way much better than leaving it to any external power to intervene and just reduce all the cause to disarming Hezbollah. I think, is there any opportunity to renew these efforts?
I don't think it is applicable. People, other Lebanese party or most of the Lebanese party will not trust Hezbollah because Hezbollah has sat on the table with them for several times since 2006, and one time Nasrallah himself was sitting and discussing
I remember.
The future of his arms, and we ended up, and he promised the Lebanese that there's no war, we will have a happy summer, all of us. And the next day he launched a war against Israel. So I don't think the Lebanese really trust this process again and again because they repeated the same process for at least for fun. It is the Lebanese government. You don't need to bring parties to discuss such issue. It is the Lebanese government to apply the Lebanese constitution, no more arms. And it is, first of all, it is the duty of Hezbollah to choose between his arms and Lebanon, because Lebanon is collapsing and the people are dying. More than a million Lebanese from Hezbollah supporters, most of them are displaced. So we're keeping these arms for the sake of what? To liberate land. The land was liberated already. To defend the Lebanese people, you are only causing death to Lebanese people. What is the purpose of this arms? It is the time for Hezbollah to decide, and if he did not accept, and if he keep refusing to discuss or to handle his arms to the Lebanese government, the Israelis cannot do it because it cannot be done by only bombing. You need boots on ground, and it is time for the Lebanese army to do this job.
Okay, so basically, what you're saying, like the Lebanese army and the military should be responsible for this disarmament.
It is their duty.
It's their duty.
Yeah.
Okay, I
the argument lately in Lebanon that they are asking for the Syrian army to interfere, as if they learned nothing from the past.
The history.
Now no, please wait. The Lebanese army is the Syrian army will not interfere, and above all, we've learned from our mistakes. We don't keep repeating the same mistakes over and over.
I hope we learn from our mistakes and go forward.
Yeah.
In any peace processes in the region. Since you mentioned Syria, it's a bit interesting also for me to discuss Syria again amid this regional war. As I see it, it sits on an important intersection of many of the regional dynamics we have been discussing. We discuss this very often, that we know the taking into consideration the historical relation between Iran and Syria, specifically the ex-Syrian regime. We know that Iran was the biggest ally to the Assad regime, and it did commit a lot of human rights violations and crimes and so on. And this is now is living into the Syrian memory. It cannot vanish in one day. But what makes me think regarding the Syrian position, how is it, the Syrian government, how is it able now to manage these power balances in the region? It's a fragile state, it's a new state. it's trying to build a state from scratch, if we can say that. And the dynamics in the region are so hard. It's not an easy era for Syria to build itself. Uh, we didn't see any official position regarding U.S.-Iran-Israel war from the officials. Still, the street discussion is fragmented between like who should be where, with whether we support this war or we do not support this war. And we mainly see Syria as focusing on its internal agenda more than that. So what do you think? Are they um, managing this in a smart way to keep to stay a calm actor, or like just to deconflict with Israel at the right time? Or is it really only about the internal economic agenda and so on? What do you think of that?
I think we had enough for 14 years of war, and we've learned, at least from our mistakes, not to interfere in any conflict in the region. We're exhausted of wars and conflicts. I agree with you. Iran committed a lot of crimes in Syria, but Hezbollah did also. And we did not join the war. We did not join the party against Hezbollah. We stayed on a neutral, let us say. The Syrian government supported the Lebanese government, but we stayed neutral between all the conflict in the region, because the main purpose, the main goal for the Syrian government now, as I announced it many times, is to protect Syria and not to let anyone to let Syria to enter this war, because we know Israel tried to let Syria enter this war, and the Iranians via Hezbollah and Al-Hashd al-Shabi were trying to do so. So for the time being, we're doing extra smart, very critical, but
Extra
smart.
Okay.
Yes,
Like being
to stay
calm
away.
actor.
It's the first time. It's the first time for decades that Syria is the safe zone, and everywhere around we have war and conflict. So
I
let it
remember
be like this.
I remember Alia, when I was in touch with you just to check on you when the war started. You told me, "Don't worry about me. I'm in Syria." That for me was like a surprising answer, because in my memory, Syria is not a safe place to be at during wars. Yeah, and this one like made me think a lot. But again, in May, we saw a lot of, maybe let me say, developments on economic side. We saw the UAE Economic Forum happened in Damascus. We saw the EU engagement and lifting sanctions on Syria, which gives us indicators that the governments, or the international governments and the regional governments, are willing to cooperate with the Syrian government to rebuild Syria. But that rebuilding, it requires the minimum, let me say, security stability in the region. So, what is Syria in this security framework today?
I mean, I
How is
don't.
it positioning itself amid this escalation, and yet they need this security stability to rebuild
I
Syria?
mean, I'm very realistic, Doris. I don't think, and I was not last year. I remember many of my friends and colleagues were very enthusiastic that Syria will be rebuilt and we will have the best state in the region in a couple of years. Syria is totally destroyed. I'm not talking about just the buildings and the infrastructure. The institutions are destroyed from inside. The
The social
society is
fabric.
destroyed. The social fabric and the society itself, the coherence between people. We need a lot of time. Till now, yeah, I know the results are not as we wish for, but it is, to me, it's more than I expected in a year and a half. Syria today is safer than Syria was a couple of months ago, and I hope it will be safer next month and the month later. For I'm talking about the whole series, inside security.
Yeah.
To feel safe inside your city or in your village, it's taking time, but it's happening.
Mm.
About Iran and the war and Israel, it's another topic, and it is not only the Syrian decision. Uh, we saw many big countries more powerful than Syria, and still they got affected by the war, economically and for security wise. So
And
that's why I say this time we should find a solution for this war to be the last war,
mm,
not to allow so just ceasefire, and after 2 months I don't know who will have the will, or just like a hobby to
mm,
start a new war.
new war. Okay.
Yeah,
But
and they do it in the region. Yeah, they find it very easy. We launch a war, and then we start asking where is the international community to stop it.
yeah, this makes me think, Alia. When you're talking about, yeah, Syria is working on its internal agenda and it needs time. Of course, there's no magic to build a state in one day. I totally understand this. But I mean, also for
Mhm.
foreign investments to come into Syria, it needs this minimum security standards or framework. In your opinion, how far would the Syrian government go to achieve this security? What I mean, at what cost? Would it be at the cost of, for example, agreeing to build that buffer zone on its lands with Israel? Maybe.
Sorry, ما سمعتك، راح صوتك دورس. Can you repeat please?
Yeah. When?
sorry.
Okay.
من أول ما بلشت السؤال عمل فريز.
Fine. Now it's working, صح؟ شغال؟
Yes.
Okay, Alia, what
شغال.
you just said that made me think of one thing that how far would the Syrian government go, or to what cost would they agree to have this minimum security arrangement for them? Would it be, for example, at a cost of agreeing to build that buffer zone that was discussed earlier this year on Syrian lands, for example? Because in my opinion, any foreign investments would need some of security stability in the country to come in. So do you think how far would they go?
From what we saw for the last year and a half, we did not go so far. The Syrian government was very open and somehow transparent. We're not used to a Syrian official to say, I'm meeting with Israelis to
Yeah,
discuss, which is
yeah.
a step forward for the Syrian community. But if the Syrian government was willing to give the Israelis what they asked for, we could have seen the agreement happening a year ago.
Mm-hmm,
And one more thing, the security threats in Syria are not just related to the Israelis. We
mm-hmm.
have ISIS,
Yeah,
we have people, what we call it, al-Falul,
Lebanon.
we have extremists, we have different kinds of threats. And we have, it's not only, we have the Iranians, we have Hezbollah, we have different kinds of security threats. So I think the Syrian government or security apparatus are doing well. Otherwise, we could not have seen all these companies are trying to come into Syria and start to trying to launch their projects, because money, the money, as I say, money is coward. You don't go
Yeah,
to with your money to if you don't have any assurance that you're not gonna lose them.
yeah, but uh, again, I partially agree with you on that, not fully, but because of one thing. It seems like the Syrian government is achieving a lot on its external agenda. And as you have mentioned, um, it has been a calm actor amid this war, and they are trying to focus on their economic reconstruction and so on. But what makes me also, Alia, think that I can see their achievements on the external agenda, but not on the internal affairs of Syria. For example, on the file of transitional justice, in May we saw the court of, for example, Atif Najib, who committed crimes against Syrian civilians during the conflict. For me, it was more of a symbolic court, not a real judiciary process, for example. The file of the disappeared people, it's not solved yet. And the reconstruction of some villages, the returnee file, and a lot of these things. It's great to hear that they are doing a lot of contracts and attracting foreign investments into Syria. But again, if we ask the people, the average people who are living the daily challenges in Syria, they want this to be translated into action. For example, they are asking for a continuous electricity, water, jobs, income to reduce the poverty, and so on. Again, I know there's no magic to solve all of these things, but I'm just thinking of the Syrian government. How would be how would they be that smart in managing this regional power balances on their external agenda, but on the internal affairs, they are facing or slower, let me say, on achieving anything tangible for the people who lived 14 years of conflict. And I think they are tired of waiting.
The average people, most of them now, you ask them, they care about the electricity bill more than unfortunately, disappeared people, because the Syrian society is divided now between people who were part of this revolution and normal people who, again, paid the price for the 14 years war. And everyone has different priority. I agree with you, though I'm not a specialist, I'm not an expert in the law, but what happened with Atif Najib was not very satisfying to me. It is not the transitional justice we're asking for. About the detainees and the people who disappeared in Assad prisons, yes, but it will take a lot of time. Remember that the Lebanese war ended, 30 years ago? Maybe, no more. 36 years ago, 37 years ago. Until now, they did not even agreed on how many people were disappeared in
Yeah.
Syria and in Lebanon. We don't have the tools. And I was asking a few months ago, and they said, we don't have the capability to do DNA tests. We have to send it outside and bring it.
Yes.
Yeah, it needs a lot of money. It needs a lot of effort. It needs a lot of, but it is a priority for all of people who were part of this revolution. But it needs time. The priority for normal people is electricity, to find a job, to go for kids to go to school, we have different priorities, and all of them actually are priorities because Syria needs a lot of work. Are they succeeding? In some places they are, yes. In some places they are doing well. In other places, no, actually, they are not doing any good job. It seems that they are still insist to be like a closed circle, not to open to any other Syrian expertise and this is a big issue.
This is exactly what I wanted to say. Actually, okay, they are managing on external agenda, but on internal affairs, not that well, because in my opinion, one of the main reason excluding a lot of Syrian capacities. and excluding those Syrian capacities to be involved in this period, transitional period, will weaken this period and will make it more slower. And also it will feed into the obviously sectarian divide we're having now, we're witnessing in Syria, and the consequences of this sectarian divide. I believe the Syrian government can take some steps in this regard, like for example, including the local capacities, showing some positive intention publicly, of course, public intention to solve the sectarian divides in Syria, to work on this to rebuilding the social fabric before rebuilding the institutions, as you said, and the organizations. So that's how I see, like, the Syrian government is putting a lot of weight external agenda, but still not on their internal agenda. I feel like they are both equally important, but for the Syrians, at least the networks I'm talking to, it's even more important to work on the internal affairs for Syrians more than just managing or being smart in managing the external agenda. So yeah, this is how I think about Syria. If I don't know if you agree or
Doris, I don't think that the Syrian government, even they are doing a very good job with the external agenda, with the relation, but it is not just because of them. It is because of the interest of the whole region for the Syrian government to succeed after
yeah.
decades of of Syria being the core troublemaker in the region, not just during the war, the 14 years.
Yep.
Syria used to be the troublemaker in the region. So it is for the sake of all the region, for the Syrian government to succeed. That's why we can see them succeed in external files more than internal files, because many many governments are helping. But inside Syria, because even in the external files, they are not really relying on Syrian diaspora or Syrian expertise. They are very close. And we saw it in different countries. They are sending people from their yes.
Yeah, I'll
Say
I'll
it.
make it easier on you. Like now, maybe let's call it this way, frankly. For the loyalists, let me say, they are the ones who are really involved in the internal Syrian,
Yes, yani,
right? And
yes,
this
they
is
are young.
the
They
same
are
mentality, in my view. It's repeating the same approach that when
yeah.
there's no
And
competition.
we cannot give them the excuse that, look, we are sending our loyal groups outside and still we are succeeding. We cannot say they are succeeding in external files because of their yeah, they are
Capacity.
using the same tactique inside and outside. They are not taking advantage of the Syrian expertise, the Syrian diaspora, the
Exactly.
Syrian young educated men and women. They are depending on their own loyal groups, small loyal groups. We're succeeding outside because people are helping us outside. By people, I mean different countries and governments.
Governments.
Inside, there's only them, and they will not be able to succeed if they keep trying to be that close to their very close loyal groups.
Loyal groups. I totally agree with you on that point. Finally, we agree on one concrete point on Syria. I know that you are an expert on this matter as well. Okay, if we want to move beyond Syria, and like it's kind of interesting, like we're talking about Hezbollah, Lebanon, and Syria, who were known as the, resistance axis, maybe if we can call it the Mahwar al-Muqawama. You remember that we all were raised hearing that resistance from different from those
Mm.
countries. And now it's dismantled, basically. Yani, if we see like either Iran or the previous ex-Assad regime or Hezbollah, they are not in the same position or they don't have the same power as they had to call them this. And which takes me directly, which is related directly to Palestine. I know, and I would agree with you ahead of what you, before you say it, this resistance movement or I don't know, body, it didn't really serve Palestinians. It didn't make any achievements on the Palestinian file. But now, taking into consideration all of these changes, like after, as you said, October 7th and so on, it takes me to Gaza today. It's a front that didn't pause for the past almost 3 years now, right? And a lot of Israeli announcements regarding that Hamas is regrouping. They have new leaders, and like that this front should stay active all the time, and attacks are still active. And at the same time, when we witnessed the intensified attacks on south of Lebanon, we also witnessed intensified attacks on Gaza under the security language, like to eliminate some Hamas leaders. So Gaza front, even if I'm Palestinian, but for me remains unanswered. I'm uncertain of what's going to happen in Gaza, even if we have this two-phase plan. But as you see, the ceasefire in the first plan is not respected. It's not happening actually. So again, what do you think about Gaza?
Yani, unfortunately, the ceasefire agreements are often concluded between state and the militia, which is why, in my opinion, frequently see not fully implemented or only partial implementation of a ceasefire. It is not between the Palestinian government and the Israeli. It is between a militia. Hamas is a militia, whether we like it or not. It's between Hamas and the Israelis. And the Israelis are always, especially Netanyahu, he's always trying to find the excuse to keep going with his wars all around and his killings because it serves his political agenda, his political future. And unfortunately, Hamas and Hezbollah are giving, we say, هدايا مجانية, free gifts for Netanyahu for the last 3-4 years. يعني, I always ask, and I've wrote about it a lot in 2023, what if Hamas or any other militia entrusted the negotiation process to their governments and committed themselves to whatever agreements were reached? What if Hamas were to leave negotiation to the legitimate Palestinian government? Even Hezbollah today, he rejects having the Lebanese government negotiate on its behalf, and he does not mind to object Lebanon becoming a bargaining chip on the table between US and the Iranians negotiation. When was the last time, if it ever happened, Hamas was negotiating something related to the Palestinian state? Because I tried to search this for a while. It was never about Palestine. It was always about Hamas. What serves Hamas? Palestine was never the agenda. Correct me if I'm mistaken.
Yeah, I partially agree with you on that, but yet, how I see it, like, or how you also explained it, it's like a self-feeding vicious circle for the securitization of Israeli policy, for example. And but yet I can't discuss Hamas or like to have all the discussion around Hamas and the disarmament of Hamas, because also I see all the discussions, in my view, they are reduced to the disarmament of Hamas. Again, here I raise the same question. Who's able to do that? Whose responsibility to disarm Hamas? And what is the day after will look like after this phase? And again, when the ceasefire,
what if Hamas يعني for
yeah, saying when the ceasefire agreements are not respected and still the violence is taking place on the ground, it's and there's even no talks about the accountability efforts regarding what Israel did committed of war crimes in Gaza. There will be no advancement in any future peace agreement, let me say. You're saying that PA should be responsible. I totally agree. But for example, when the Board of Peace was formed, uh, Palestine was not on the table. This is one point. It's not, yeah, it was excluded somehow. Second, um, the 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 lack of talk of accountability and the lives who passed during this war, they do matter. And still, this discussion is not on the table. So we always reduce our, not me and you, but in general, our discussions on disarmament of Hamas. And we were raised in this region, and we know that Hamas turns to be an idea. It's the idea more than the groups of Hamas, members of Hamas.
what is the
So
idea of Hamas?
the ideology behind Hamas,
Which is
that
it related to Palestine?
which I know you will challenge me on that, which I agree with you partially on it. It's public. It's not a secret that yes, it's not the whole of Palestine. I can say that, but still it matters. It matters because they I'm not defending Hamas again, but still I'm talking about all the people who passed during this war. So when we talk about only disarming Hamas and keep attacking Gaza, all of civilian lives are passing away. The infrastructure of Gaza was destroyed totally, and we still heard Netanyahu a few days ago announcing to take over 70% of Gaza to control it fully. So again, here's the same question I asked about Hezbollah. Who should be responsible for that? And that administrative
It's
committee
different.
become clear.
It's different between Gaza and Lebanon, because Lebanon you have state. But let me tell you something, it will sound very tough. People who died in Gaza, in Syria, and Lebanon, me and you care about them, but not the international community, not the war actors really care, because we saw a million Syrians were killed during the 14 years, and nobody cared when they were having their political agreements. They can easily forget about 1 million. The same in Gaza, the same in Lebanon, and not just the international community, even the local actors who are fighting. And again, I'm not kidding. Hamas and Netanyahu, they think they are collateral damage.
Yeah.
And some of Hamas leaders use the terms.
Yeah.
As long as they are not leaders of Hamas, it's okay if they were killed.
Yeah.
It's very tough. We've learned it the very tough and hard way in Syria, but this argument will not change the dynamics.
Unfortunately, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay, like
So what is the solution?
This is our
I think
reality.
the solution, I think it is the responsibility of the PA to take action.
Yeah.
What kind of action? I don't know. But even if Hamas refused, it's okay. Let them refuse. But it is time to take an action, because Palestinians are dying for the sake of, are we liberating Palestine? What was the cause of, what was the reason Hamas launched October 7th? To liberate Palestine? What was the result? At least some accountability.
Yeah.
يعني we cannot go on like for decades with خطابات like عبد الناصر and end up losing and losing and losing and blaming the different other actors, external actors. I'm not saying Israel is innocent. Netanyahu is committing crimes every single moment in Lebanon and in Syria and in Gaza. What I'm saying, if we are not very well equipped for negotiation, not for war, because we will never be allowed to be equipped for war. If we're not very well trained, if we don't have the minimum of unity, if we don't have one voice to negotiate, not Hamas in Qatar, different from Hamas in Turkey, different from Hamas in Gaza, plus Mahmoud Abbas, plus ما بعرف who else.
It's complicated.
It's very complicated. So at least to have one voice to state.
But
What is our issue with the state, with the government?
why
we
you
refuse to have we want to live as tribes.
Yeah, while you were speaking now, Alia, and you challenged my discourse, of course, but I was thinking, because of all what you have said, I cannot read the region as separate files. So again, if the region needs kind of stability or peace to take place, I'm trying not to be biased, but still I see that this cannot happen without solving the Palestinian cause. It
I fully
remains
agree.
it remains central to the region, like supporting the two-state solution with full sovereign Palestinian state ruled by Palestinians would really even help in solving the other files, because what happens in Gaza affects what's happening in south of Lebanon. What happens in south of Lebanon moves into the border to Syria. What happens in Syria affects Iran. What happens in Iran affects the GCC countries. So it's all of the causes are connected. So I see it. I see the Palestinian cause remains central to this region.
I
And
totally agree.
okay, that's great to agree on this point. Okay, so Alia, if I know that our conversation might take hours and we will not get
My
bored.
issue is not if the Palestinian cause is central, and we cannot live happily ever after if the Palestinians are not living happily ever after and peacefully in their own state. My issue is how these actors use Palestine as a method or as a tool for different agenda. Palestine was never,
I
ever
understand. Yeah.
their purpose, their goal. It was always the tool they are using to destroy all the other actors.
It's obviously the main actors in the region, they are using different files to justify their acts. For example, if as you're saying, for example, these actors, whether Iran or Hezbollah, you named them earlier, using Palestinian cause to stay alive, let me say, or acting in the region. Also, Israel is using Hezbollah and Iran as a justification, or Hamas a justification to continue the wars. So I think all of these files are used as tools by different actors at different moments to keep the region on fire, let me say. And it takes us a little bit far from any serious peace agreements in the region. So yeah, as I have mentioned, we can continue this conversation forever or for many hours, but unfortunately we're constrained by time. So if I want to think loud with you, Alia, if we are looking at ahead to June, to month of June, what is the one development that you would love to see happening in the region? Just to be maybe love to see happening positive, something positive to be happening instead.
Of course, I don't wait for to achieve peace in June, but at least I can hope that the legal government, legitimate governments will be negotiating instead of the militias that we cannot trust to negotiate our enemy, because both of them, they don't really care about our future as human beings, as civilians, as people who try to live, not to die. We have two different mentalities in the region,
I
unfortunately.
cannot agree more on that. Yep.
Yep.
So, Alia,
So
أنت
thank you so much. Thank you so much for the discussion, Doris, and for the time and for for the challenges. And I would like to mention something, that me and Doris both are women from this region. Doris is Palestinian, talking about Syria and Lebanon. I'm Syrian, talking about Palestine and Lebanon. We're super smart. We should have a role. Not me and Doris. We've been in the process for a long time, but I mean, we should support women in the region because they can do much more better than our our colleagues, unfortunately, because they can focus only on the way they let me say, as I was telling my dear friend Asad, Doris' husband, we have to be, we are more open. He's Syrian, focusing on Syria. My husband is Lebanese, focusing on Lebanon. We can focus, me and Doris can focus on any area of interest in the region. What I mean, and it's clear evidence that women are capable and able to create common ground in the region and foster understanding and create peace, or at least create common ground for all of us to have. And returning to our discussion and the war in the region, I can hardly recall a period in our modern history of this region since the beginning of my political awareness, when I did not hear the phrase that the region is going through a difficult transition. Yet today, the situation seems really different to me. In the past, the solution were merely temporary fixes, like administering painkillers instead of providing real treatment. Today, after October 7, the world, led by the United States, has realized that the policy of managing crisis through half measures and compromises is no longer effective, and said the post-October 7 era is not the same as what came before it. For me, this is the period of transition from the rage of militia to the rage of state. Will we succeed? Time will answer the question. However, it's no longer acceptable or possible for a handful of militia funded by Iran to determine the fate of the region and the world.
And I would like to add one sentence here. And we need to address the root causes that led to the current situation. We cannot turn a blind eye on the
Palestinian issues
and Palestine, again. So
again.
it is a cause, and we need to deal with it and to have a solution for it, so we can go into a real and serious talks about peace. Alia.
I totally agree. Thank you. Thank you so much, Doris, again. And I'm looking forward to continue this conversation in near future, inshallah.
And say, we're looking forward to see you in June, MENA Mixed Recap. Thank you a lot. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.